A very good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to the live futures session with myself, Giles Cocton. Good morning, good afternoon, Carolyn, Adair. Good to see you. We will be looking ahead for the US CPI print today as well, so we'll have a risk event to look forward to. Hope you're both well. Hope you had a nice weekend. Looking forward to this session. Things are sort of heating up now as we're coming to the tariff deadline on the 1st of August, as well as the US CPI print this week. So we should start to get a little bit more action. Hey Adair, good to see you. Carolyn, right, I'm going to give folks 30 seconds or so to sign on in, and then we'll get stuck into the session. Good morning, Ryan. Good afternoon. Okay, as we look around markets today, sentiment is broadly negative. You can see European stocks, the DAX, Euro stocks lower, FTSE 100 doing better. China 50 kind of down, but off worse levels for the session. Volatility elevated, but pulling back. US equity futures finding dip buyers on the initial move on the Globex Open. But the main news is Trump's letters to the EU and Mexico saying that he's going to put 30% tariffs on them starting the 1st of August. That set hairs racing in Europe, and a number of countries have gone out and expressed how detrimental that will be to their economy, including Germany, which of course is the powerhouse of the Eurozone. 25% of Europe's GDP comes from Germany alone. So significant tariffs. But as we know, Trump uses these threats largely to enter into negotiations, and it's not a tool that he's using to definitely follow through with. So that's the market's expectation. So we'll see how sentiment goes, turn around as we go through the session. Maybe not, it depends on the headlines, but sentiment is sort of negative to start the session. Yields are pushing up across the board. The general feel is that tariffs are going to be inflationary. There's a few outliers like Bowman and Waller who thinks that they'll just be one-off effects, but you can just see bond markets selling off, yields up around the world. Inflationary forces are still seen as out there, and that has really, lifted precious metals. See gold and silver, both of them benefiting significantly from these tariff concerns. Gold off the highs for the day, but silver continuing to push higher to start the week. And, that's underscoring that strong run silver had on Friday. Great, breakout moves that we saw there. So we'll have a little look at silver, see if there's some intraday opportunities that we can get into on that. Base metals down, copper down, iron ore down, just on some weaker data out of China, nothing major. WTI Brent crude off highs for the day. Tehran, as expected, said that there's some kind of retaliation with the return of UN sanctions. So that lifted oil prices. That has now faded as we go into the session. The dollar is pushing up, and the prospects of the dollar breaking out will be higher if inflation is stickier and doesn't fade. That means the Fed is going to have to keep interest rates higher for longer. And we know President Trump doesn't like that. He wants lower interest rates. He's calling Jerome Powell too late Powell. And dollar strength at the moment is being capped by expectations of rate cuts. But if inflation comes out strong tomorrow, that's really going to move markets. So what we're looking at in terms of expectations for tomorrow's CPI, very light calendar today, hardly anything out there. But if you just take a look at tomorrow, we can see the expectations. It's CPI is going to be most influential. Month on month, expected to come in at 0.3% for the core and for the headline. So both core and headline expected to rise from 0.1%. Now, what we're going to look for here is if that CPI print comes in above market's maximum expectations, that means the Fed is going to have to keep interest rates higher for longer. The inflationary fears over
attention to the crude
US tariffs.
Those earlier gains now just seeing selling pick up in recent trade, not seeing anything fundamentally driving the move. Just bring to your attention, I've seen crude prices now trim earlier gains. WTI now down to $68.60 per barrel. Brent trading at $70.50.
Just some headlines on the oil prices moving lower from earlier in the session. Now, what we're looking for here is if it's higher than markets are expecting, if the core comes in 0.5% or higher, if the headline comes in 0.5% or higher, then that will mean the Fed will have to keep interest rates higher for longer. So we'll be looking at dollar yen upside or euro dollar selling. That would be the go-to. So CPI, core data, if the priors are unchanged or higher, 0.5% for the core, 0.5% month on month for the headline, expect dollar strength. Euro dollar downside, dollar yen buying, you'd expect 10-year yields to push up, so you expect bond selling. So that's what we'd expect. That would be the best opportunity. I think there would be an opportunity if it surprises to the downside as well. So if we see it coming in 0.0% month on month and 0.0% for the core month on month, then I expect dollar weakness, and I'd be looking for something like either dollar yen selling or euro dollar buying. Probably euro dollar buying is what I'll be looking for. Now, if you look at expectations, the expectations for the Federal Reserve's interest rate decision at the end of July is only 9% chance of a cut. That's what's expected, 9%. So that's the expectations. And the first interest rate cut is expected to come in September. So no interest rate cut expected for July, but obviously it comes in below market's expectations, that will be brought forward. So you start to look for some euro dollar upside. That's what we're looking for. So just to go over that data, month on month, it's expected 0.3 priors, 0.1. If it comes in 0.0, that will surprise everyone, euro dollar upside. Similarly with the core, 0.1 for May. June's expected at 0.3. If it comes in 0.0, then expect dollar selling, euro dollar upside. Also, on the other hand, if it's 0.5% or higher for the month on month core, 0.5% or higher for the headline month on month, then expect dollar buying, euro dollar selling, dollar yen selling. Dollar yen buying. If inflation is hotter, then that means the Fed has rates higher for longer, which supports the dollar. So that's what to look for. If it's higher interest rates for longer, that should weaken the Nasdaq. It should weaken the S&P 500. So it will be the outlook to be looking for. Trueflation, this trueflation that we picked up recently. Now, this index, trueflation, is meant to be based on real-time data and is meant to be more responsive than CPI. CPI is kind of a lagging indicator because you're looking backwards, whereas this trueflation indicator is meant to be, much more forward looking. And it's interesting to see that the recent dip in inflation has ceased over the last few weeks. So a slight inflation is in keeping with that trueflation index, and that's what we're looking for. Aside from that, calendar is very light. Sort of ongoing trades that I've got running. I've got silver longs continuing to run. Nice upside that we're experiencing there. And what I'll be looking for here is opportunities to go long intraday. So you can see that on balance volume, price breaking out above the second Bollinger Band, clearly bullish conditions, big buying opportunities now, and any retracements down to this pivot point, this 3760 region. And what we're looking for is something like, some kind of flag pattern, some kind of pullback. Definitely worth looking at in silver. Had a really, really good run in silver. You can see that weekly close. Where is it? There it is. See the weekly close right up at those highs. And we're looking now, so a breakout pullback of this region. Now we're looking for a breakout pullback of this region. So again, that's what we're looking for. Price trying to make new highs. And if you look at the monthly chart, I don't see any reason why all-time highs can't be targeted. And I'm looking for all-time highs and potentially beyond. Right, so that's interesting. There is a very interesting pattern that I've seen being mooted around, which is a huge cup and handle pattern, which is this is the cup, right? That's the handle. And it can be massive, up to $70-80. So watch out for that huge cup and handle pattern that I've seen some analysts put out. So that for me says, okay, let's see if we can get a run up to those all highs and beyond. So silver longs still grand. I don't see any other currency options today ahead of the CPI tomorrow, and we'll reassess tomorrow. aside from that, got these Oracle longs that I'm still running, but obviously underneath this 228 region, I'll probably be exiting. So I'll probably exit that around the open. That's just moving in the wrong direction there for Oracle. And apart from that, let's go and look at the delta. Now, looking on the hourly chart, you can see, well, first of all, look at the TPOs. And looking at those TPOs, what you can see is that value has shifted lower from the previous session. So there's previous session, value high, very low. We've shifted lower. We've got this sort of B-shaped market profile, and price is trying to hold above this value area high. And if it can, we're looking for a potential retest the 6250. Get back under that region, then we can start to look for a move down to 6228. There's pretty big support around that 6214. So it's either breakout up and away up to sort of 6250, maybe even to that 6257, or pull back underneath, back into the point of control value area low, maybe down to that big 6214 area. So that's what I'm looking at. On the hourly chart, Globex open, delta is negative. Let's just put the volume profiles in. Let me just check we've got the weekly profile. That's the wrong one. There we go. So big areas to be looking for. Big area, value area high. And a big area, value area high up there. And then this sort of support area, I was looking for longs. Delta is negative to start the session, but just notice how these buyers are going to trap those sellers. So, you know, we're heading towards positive territory. On the 15th, I was just trying to enter against this area because you see how those buyers trap those sellers. So any retracement to that area, particularly this value area here, was suitable for buying. So I was trying to buy off that, and I think my entry's just been it's just been missed, my entry. So you can see I was looking for a move at 6279, see if I can push up higher. Obviously break up above that value area highs, then we're looking for a run maybe up to this next value area here around that 6290 region. So that's what I'm looking for. Key areas to be looking for here. See pullback, here pullback. So big areas, any move down to that 6279 before the open. We'll be keeping the squawk on, looking out for tariff news will be the main driver. Anything on the EU and the Mexico tariff deal, anything less than 30% should lift markets, though markets are not really taking Trump very seriously at the moment, but it doesn't hurt gold upside. I'm just going to see if there's any speakers that we've got. Trump's updating on Russia, which he already has, about those Patriot missile systems that Europe was paying for, but the US is selling to them. I think that's the major things, folks. That is it for now. Got 14 minutes to the open. I'm happy to buy in from the open if we get a drop down to that region before the start. It's got buyers trapping those sellers there. We've now got buyers here, so interesting to see. I think I'll probably pull those orders here and have a look with maybe a better entry, because I've had a little bounce with this area without being there we go. So basically the more recent profiles, Ryan, are the most relevant, but if you go back and you look at these volume profiles back here, they're still relevant. You see there was value areas here, 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 and here. That's still a very relevant area, and that value area high here. So I think anything in recent history is relevant. The more recent, the better. But essentially, I wouldn't worry about a time limit on them. If it's a value area and it's a valid one,
just making you aware it is getting
valid.
Mentions on social media. CNN Brazil notes Brazil could ask for a tariff replacement of 90 days and ask for a reduction to 30%. Within the piece, just note that Brazil should also discuss reducing the tariff from 50 to 30% and creating export quotas for at least coffee and oranges.
That's a good point. Ryan.
Just seeing remarks now from EU's trade chief on trade negotiations with the US says it takes two hands to clap.
Ryan, if you imagine raising a very good point, is when you have the multiple areas together, it just shows that that's been value over a certain number of days. So often, like here, for instance, 1, 2, 3, often if you get a drop down to there, you'll get at least an initial reaction, a prop up, right? So a bit like here where you had, look, value area low, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 value area lows around this 6215 region. and you've got this drop and bounce. Yeah. Okay, we're trying to hold above this value area high. If we can, that's great. Otherwise, then any drops back down to this region. We're looking for fading extremes. So looking for a move down here, get some delta trapped, move higher, up, or breaking away from here, or moving up, delta trap, moving lower. So that's what I'm sort of looking at for the day. All right, folks, just going to make a cup of tea, and we'll be back shortly. Nice one. Weekly value area low here, and or a rejection, and also that's the start of the week point of control. All right, so what I go for here is I go for another long, is if I can go at the 6285, because you've got those sellers who are trapped before the open. So that's what I'll be looking for, if I can just get underneath this level here and then look for a deeper bounce, that 6285. Let's look at the delta. How is it doing? Delta is positive, right? So a buy in here if we see these sellers getting tested. Here's looks like a drop. You've got some buyers getting trapped up here, right, against the standard deviation. So a drop makes sense from here. That's another value area. So that's where those sellers were trapped. So, okay, buying from that area, see if I get a little bounce. Here we go. So there's a little bounce there. Well, I say there's a little bounce there. I'm looking for a little bounce there. The risk here is it just keeps going lower. That's the problem with this. So I'll just put it the other side of the VWAP. Nice, Najam. I think maybe the short would have been the more sensible view, really. I'm just trying. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Nice move, Najam. It does make sense. Sellers have now been, buyers have now been trapped. So I'm switching from longs and going short with those buyers trapped, and any retracement up to that area is not unreasonable to look for sellers. 6284 stops above 6296.
Just carrying out the usual market update after the US cash open. For US indices, they do open in the red, are trading lower after Trump's announcement over the weekend of 30% tariffs on two of its biggest trading partners, the Mexico and EU, to be effective August 1st. S&P 500 down 30 basis points, Nasdaq 100 down 40, then Russell 2000 outperforming up about 5 basis points. As it stands, discussions between the EU and US are to continue till August 1st, albeit any EU countermeasures wouldn't go into effect until that date. In terms of the sector performance, we are seeing performance mixed, real estate utilities outperforming, tech energy in the red. They are lagging. And then in the FX space, dollar index is modestly higher after posting broad-based strength against G10 peers, particularly Antipodeans amid the tentative risk sentiment. Meanwhile, yen is outperforming, posting marginal strength. For the focus will also align US data this week, with CPI out tomorrow alongside multiple Fed speakers. And then for FIX, price action has been choppy. Earlier weakness now paired that was seen in the European morning, with the outperformance seen in shorter dated notes, leaving spreads generally steepening. Today we heard from Fed's Hammock, a 2026 voter, who said we are pretty close to where the neutral rate is. Hammock does not see its imminent need to cut rates. And then for crude, prices have recently paired that earlier upside. Upside was helped on a couple of things, one being the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson saying Tehran will return to the return of UN sanctions after snapback mechanism. However, the main event is yet to come. US President Trump at some point to give a major announcement on Russia. Axios reports he is set to unveil a new Ukraine weapons plan involving offensive arms, including potential long-range missiles driven by frustration with Russia's President Putin. And then for spot gold, prices now back in the green by around $3 an ounce after seeing some early pressure in the European morning.
Hey, wow, look at this. Quite a big pushback on this. Although sellers have trapped those buyers. So let's see. I know, look at that. Just going to give it a bit of space, room to breathe. What a move.
And next up on the calendar in about 10 minutes' time, at the top of the hour, we are looking out for potential remarks. US President Trump is to meet with NATO Chief Rutte. Is to be close press, but nonetheless sometimes can get remarks. So desk will be on the lookout.
Look at that. What a move. That's just... I'm going to be led by the close here. But that is just... Look at that. It's hard. Yeah, it's tricky, this one. Let's see. There's an obvious taking profit area, but you'd think that sellers' stops are going to get tripped up here. Let's see. Oh yeah, Mark would be long, wouldn't he? he would be long on that candle. Very true. And we got buyers trapping those sellers on the 5, so that's okay. Now we're testing that point of control. Some of those late buyers getting trapped there. Now this is a crucial area. Are buyers going to defend this? You'd expect them to, with those buyers having trapped those sellers there, but let's see. Mark would have been long. That was a break and close above those highs. Look at that. Wow. That's very similar to like Friday's candle, where we had that sellers engulfing buyers, they got stuck out. Sellers engulfing buyers are getting stopped out. It's almost identical. It's funny how you find sometimes markets move in these kind of patterns. So the 15 is still there. Got a bit of selling trying to come in now. Very choppy. How's the NASDAQ doing? Now, great work on that short jam at the start. Lovely move lower. Well done. Let's just go back to that. Double top, on balance volume, and cumulative data both moving lower. Oh yeah, nice. Just around here. This sort of, yeah, lovely NASDAQ. Lovely NADJAM. Sorry, called you NASDAQ. NASDAQ. It still rings to it. It was nice. Yeah, nice drop there. We're coming up to a 15-minute close. The 15-minute close has respected those sellers. Very messy. Just seeing the tick chart, on balance volume moving lower. Some of those buyers getting trapped now. So just adding another short, see if I can get this moving back in the right direction. We'll see. Sometimes the tick chart, Adair, will just show you more clearly where the buyers and sellers are, because this show you get this when you get 700 orders, right, placed. So it could be like one person placing 700 orders or not, but it's not based on the time, it's based on the volume data. So sometimes you can just quickly get onto the tick chart, and when you see the on balance volume moving lower and some buyers getting trapped by sellers, it can just help you see the delta in a different way. It can be quite helpful. So you're looking at the chart with the volume rather than the time. So if there's a lot of orders being placed, then this will fill up very quickly. So have a look at it over like a delta, over a data release, and you'll see like this fill up really quickly. It sort of just shows you a bit of volume. So now we've got a 15-minute close, and the delta is starting to turn negative again. And we got those 15-minute buyers who were unable to trap the sellers who trapped those buyers earlier. So it's just pushing back into the sellers area, really. Very strange kind of price action we're seeing, but let's see. It could be. CPI has really been anticipated. A lot of people are talking about how important it's going to be. So let's have a look on the weekly. So that hourly chart there is trapped. See, that hourly has trapped those sellers. So it's quite, to be able to test that value back down to that value area. So delta trying to pick up positive. Buyers have managed to trap those sellers down there, because the buyers have trapped sellers. We have also got that Trump comment on Russia and Ukraine still due. I thought it was the comment he'd made on the Patriot missile system, but I think it's another announcement that's still to come. Trump's patience with Putin has obviously run out. See how their other markets are doing. Volatility dropping off, bit of bid coming to bonds. Not much change in the commodity markets. Dollar flat, really just, yeah. Delta trying to pick up here. Back underneath that crucial area here. Delta is positive. They're holding above there, trapping some sellers. So sellers trap buyers up here. Very choppy and indecisive price action this. Yeah, okay. Right, potential head and shoulders on 1 minute if we get a reversal from that level. Now let me just see. You mean to the upside? If that pushes up here, 6297. So like left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Is that your thinking there, Ryan? Left shoulder, right shoulder, head here. So a break of the neckline about 6298. Point of control, standard deviation holding for now. Got conflicting signals on the 5 minute, because you've got those buyers trapping those sellers, which is helping the pullback. But you've also had those sellers trapping those late buyers. Hey, Konstantinos, see that? Yeah, that's just...
And on the energy front, Ecuador's SOT pipeline to restart operations 17th of July, according to a presidential spokesperson.
Good to see you, Konstantinos. See, on the 15, we've still got those sellers driving things, with those sellers having trapped those buyers. Had a slight pullback here, but it's very choppy price action and getting conflicting signals on the 5. But the last sort of significant move has been these sellers trapping those buyers. So those sellers trap buyers, had a pullback and a sell-off, but let's see if that sell-off can gain any legs. Some quite strong buying there. Sharp sell-off, strong buying. So coming up to another 15-minute close, there's buyers trapping sellers here and here. So quite a lot of sellers just got trapped with that move lower. Coming up to a 15-minute close, indecision. That's what we're seeing here. Just a lot of indecision. Another rejection off these lows. All right, that's strong. Another 15-minute close. Builders that are definitely buying here, and they're building. Nice little region here. I think I've just got to exit this, I think. Just see how it reacts around that standard deviation. But I think that's going to be the final nail in the coffin for those shorts. Have one more go longs, just see where we can go with it. I think that's got to turn here, really, because you got these, if those sellers can get trapped here, then that would be an obvious kind of area. Let's see. Delta turning firmly positive. Got a nice rejection of this level here, couple of rejections. Taking over those highs would be great. Could get another potential long here on the opening breakout range. These sellers getting trapped here, which is important. Trying to break above the opening range now. Get a 1-minute close, say the 6296 or higher. No, not quite. Another attempt through these highs. So it needs to be 629625 or higher. Just sat up at those highs. So we're going for a run for it. There it goes. Let's see if we get a close above those highs on the 1 minute. That's a break and close above that opening breakout range. That's like an opening breakout range play. And from there, the next sort of target will be if we can push above that area, then up to that 6309. That's kind of where your home run would be, up to there. Delta sort of trying to reach up now. Let's see how far we can go with this. Coming up to a 5-minute close, trying to close above these highs. So we've got all the sellers are trapped now. So it's Delta is positive. We're trying to move higher here. Hitting the daily pivot point. Volatility continuing to move lower. It's looking like it wants to be a piercing line pattern. Lower close, but now we're definitely flushing out those sellers. You can see how it works, this pattern. It's a 2-bar pattern. You have a close, you have an open which is below the previous day's closed, Friday's close. And if that closes above the 50% retracement level, that's a reversal. And that is in keeping with the general recovery that's going on in stocks. Let's see if we've got a 5-minute close now. Right, got the 5-minute close, and your sellers trapped there and there. All right, so any pullback is reasonable to expect buyers, with Delta still positive.
And just be aware on the trade front, we are due to get some commentary very shortly from the Mexican President Scheinbaum, who is talking about the Trump tariff threats. No details just yet, but headlines just suggesting that we will get some commentary from Mexico's Scheinbaum very soon. And folks, just for the UK watchers, be aware, according to the Times of London, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, will be announcing pension savings review on Tuesday. And just in terms of some of the details, the Times framing it as Rachel Reeves is poised to force firms to pay more into staff pensions. She's set to announce a shake-up to boost retirement savings, but it could be another blow for cash-strapped businesses, the Times warns. Very interesting little area here. We're coming up to a 15-minute close, and this is looking very much like a reversal's underway. Oh, this is annoying. I think you just gotta, that's just annoying. Just got to get out of that, because that's selling, and you can see the sellers coming in quite a lot of volume here. That looks like that's just going to reverse.